As per our tradition, first we will be revising what we have already done in previous lecture, and then we'll be starting something new today. What we did in previous lecture was remaining points of minor. Let us revise full-fledged minor. What we are actually learning? Essential elements of valid contract. One of the essential element of valid contract is capacity of parties. In capacity of parties, we have understood that minor are not capable of entering into contract. Also, we have understood for becoming a valid contract, both parties should be capable of entering into contract. So, practically, we are learning a person who is not capable of entering into contract. Hence, we understood agreement with minor is void ab initio. Minor can always plead minority. Minor can go into court of law and say that I am minor, I don't know anything. No ratification or rectification after attaining majority. So once minor attains a major, now we can enter into fresh contracts, but old contracts will not be rectified. Minor can be beneficiary, that we have understood. Any contract where minor is just having benefit and no further liability are valid contract. Minor is liable for necessity provided to minor. Contract by guardian. If it is for the benefit of minor, it is valid. If it is not for the benefit of minor, it is not valid. No specific performance. Minor, if you tell him that I will be giving you 5 lakhs rupees, you paint a painting for me, this agreement are not valid, they are void agreement. No insolvency, because minor cannot be held liable, minor cannot become insolvent. Partnership, we have understood, minor cannot become a partner because ultimately partnership is a contract, but minor can be entered into benefits of partnership. Minor can be agent but cannot be held liable. Minor cannot bind parents or guardians. If there is a joint contract by a minor and some major person, the contract is valid but minor will not be liable. If you are a surety for minor, you will be still liable. It is as good as you have entered into contract with bank. We have taken example of person and SBI, and there was a surety who was major. Minor as a shareholder, we have understood limited liability first, then we understood minor can become a shareholder if he purchases fully paid up shares. Partly paid up shares, why minor cannot purchase? Because then he will be having a liability to pay remaining amount, and in any contract where minor is liable, the contract is not valid. So this is what we have learned, everything about minor. Now try to concentrate. Someone is telling me to explain 10th point. Minor as an agent, basically we have understood agency relationship, principal, agent and third party. So minor can be agent. If anyone purchases, he is entering into valid contract with principal. Let me open that agency contract. We have taken this example when we were learning no consideration, no contract exception. Apple, agent can be a minor, but it is as good as this party has done contract with Apple. Minor will not be held liable. So there cannot be any liability for minor. But minor was acting as an agent. He should be getting commission, yes. As far as for his benefit, everything is valid. If it is for his liability, nothing is valid. This is what. 11th point also, repetition is a request. Minor cannot bind parents or guardian. Try to concentrate. You enter into contract. Say Vatsal enters into contract with say Mr. X. Vatsal is a minor. Can Mr. X sue your parents? No, parents are not involved. See, Mr. X cannot come to your home and say that your child has entered into contract with me. Now you pay for your child. This is not permissible. Another person cannot bind some another person, even if they are parents and daughter or son. So minor cannot bind parents. If it is a liability of minor, minors are liable for necessity, yes. But someone cannot sue parents of minor that you are parents and so you will be liable for the act of minor. We are going to next point. Actually, what we are learning, try to understand. We are still in section 10. What does section 10 says? Essential elements of valid contract. What are essential elements of valid contract? Number one, offer and acceptance. Number two, consideration. Number three, capacity of party. Number four, free consent. Number five, legality of object. And number six, agreement should not be expressly declared as void. I am not writing full because section 10 we have already understood, we have already learned. What is section 10? Essential elements of a valid contract. So contract to become valid, it should satisfy all the conditions. We have learned as a chapter offer and acceptance, and we have understood if there is no valid offer and acceptance, agreement will become void agreement. Why it cannot become a valid contract? Because to become a valid contract, this should be satisfied. If it is not satisfied, it will not become a valid contract. Consideration, we have understood. If consideration is present, it will be a valid contract. But if it is not present, again it will become void agreement. Last point that we did in classroom is capacity of party. If both parties are capable of entering into contract, it is a valid contract. Otherwise, it is void agreement. We have understood. If all these essential elements are satisfied, then the contract becomes valid contract. If not, either it will become void or it will become voidable. But up till now, what we have learned in classroom, they always become void agreement. We have understood difference between void contract and void agreement. Again, different person will ask me. Let me ask every time when we learn this because it is important point. What is difference between void agreement and void contract? Because see, in examination, instead of void agreement, you write down void contract. It creates a very bad impression in paper checker's mind, which I don't want. So what is difference between void agreement and void contract? Who will raise the hand and tell me? Dishita, yes.
So the void agreement is from starting only it is void.
Yes.
Void ab initio, and void contract is it is valid contract, but subsequently it becomes illegal.
Exactly.
So it is a void.
Subsequently it becomes void, not necessarily illegal, but subsequently it becomes void. You are absolutely correct. Any agreement which is from void ab initio, from initially it is void, then it will be void agreement. If a contract becomes a valid contract, then subsequently becomes void, it becomes void contract. You are absolutely correct. And now what we are going to learn is free consent. Contract to become a valid contract, there should be free consent. Let me explain you both this word separately. First, I am explaining you what is consent. It is English word, but in legal terms, it means agreeing same thing in same manner. Or let me write down the exact wordings. Understanding same thing in same manner. If both parties have understood same thing in same manner, then it is consent. I'm not talking it is free consent. Then it is consent. Let me give you example when we have not understood same thing in same manner. I give you an offer. Will you purchase my car at the rate of rupees 4 lakhs? You say me yes. We have understood something, but I was talking about my Ford Figo car. I am having two cars. I was talking about my Ford Figo car. You understood Maruti 800. So from example, you can understand how much poor I am, right? So I was talking about Ford Figo. You understood about Maruti 800. We have not understood same thing. This will not be regarded as consent as per law. There was offer, there was acceptance, yes, but offer was vague. Also, there is no consent. Why there is no consent? We have not understood same thing in same manner. Will you purchase this pen at the rate of rupees 10? We are talking about this pen. We have understood same thing in a same manner. So this will become consent. Understanding same thing in same manner is consent. Concentrate. What should be present to become a valid contract? Consent or free consent? Free consent should be present, and try to concentrate when it will become free consent. A consent is free if it is not obtained by following. So there are 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the consent is caused by following, then consent is not free. If the consent is not obtained by following, so this all thing should not be present to become a valid contract. Which are these 5 things? Try to concentrate. Free, coercion, undue influence, misrepresentation, fraud, and mistake. Once again, if the consent is caused by following, then consent is not free and it will not become a valid contract. So, a contract to become a valid contract, this all things should be present or should not be present? Should not be present in the contract. So contract should not be obtained by coercion. What is coercion? I will teach you. Contract should not be obtained by undue influence. Contract should not be obtained by misrepresentation. The consent should not be obtained by doing fraud. The consent should not be obtained by mistake. So if these 5 elements are present, once again, consent is not free. To become a valid contract, free consent is necessary. So to become a valid contract, try to concentrate. To become valid contract, This all things should be present or not be present? Not be present in contract. Now it is as simple as this. If the consent is obtained by, say, coercion, consent is free or not free? Not free. It will not become a valid contract. It will not become a valid contract. Let me go one by one in all the points. We are starting first with coercion. First, if the consent is obtained by coercion, consent is not free. If the consent is not free, it will not become a valid contract. If it is not becoming a valid contract, then it may be void agreement or it may be voidable agreement. At this stage, I want one student to revise that point. Void, valid, voidable. You can raise your hand. First student raising the hand, I'll give the chance. Yes, Radhika.
So void means that it cannot be a contract in any form. It is not even an agreement. And voidable means it can be illegal in the future.
No, this is not a correct answer. Krutika ba?
When both the party can enforce in the court of law, then it become valid.
All right.
When one party can enforce and the other party cannot enforce, then it become voidable.
All right.
And when both the party cannot enforce into court of law, then it become void.
Exactly. When both the parties can enforce the contract into court of law, it is a valid contract. If both parties cannot enforce the contract in court of law, it is void agreement. And if one party can enforce and one party cannot enforce into court of law, this will become voidable contract. Voidable is termed as agreement also, voidable is termed as contract also. Here you can use any word. But voidable contract are the contracts where one party can enforce the contract into court of law, another party cannot go into court of law. We have understood it by this manner. What I think what Radhika was speaking was in layman terms. It was we have already understood it and we have defined what is valid, void, and voidable. All right. So first time a contract not becoming a valid contract is not a void agreement. It is voidable contract. It can become valid? No. To become valid, there should be free consent. So consent should not be caused by coercion. But if consent is caused by coercion, consent is not free. It is not a valid contract. Once it is not a valid contract, your law will have to define whether it will become void or voidable. And as Kritika absolutely correctly said, is when one party can enforce the contract into court of law, or when one party can go into court of law, another party cannot go into court of law, this type of contract will become voidable contract. All right. Let me take an example of, or first let me define coercion. So we are learning coercion and this is how coercion is defined. Try to concentrate, we'll be understanding not in practically definition terms. But coercion is an act of threatening to So coercion, let me define it by section itself, which is section 50. Coercion is committing or threatening to commit any act which is forbidden by Indian Penal Code. IPC is Indian Penal Code. Or unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any property to prejudice of any person. Whatever with intention of causing that person to enter into agreement. See, this is how coercion is defined. But see, there are n numbers of definitions that are to be learned. Definition of agreement, definition of offer, definition of contract, definition of offer, definition of acceptance, definition of consideration, and try to understand this is one of the sub part of free consent. So if you mug it up, it is absolutely alright. But if you are not able to do it, just try to understand the concept. Or writing this much, don't write down the section then. As per the explanation of section 15, it is committing or threatening to commit any act which is forbidden by Indian Penal Code. Try to concentrate. Let me explain this definition in form of an example. I am running a jewelry shop. So I am owner of a jewelry shop. Another party is Dawood Ibrahim. Alright. I am having diamond necklace in my hand. I sell this diamond necklace at the rate of rupees 1 lakh to Dawood Ibrahim. Let me reduce the amount. 10,000 to Dawood Ibrahim. And I am selling necklace. Dawood Ibrahim pays me 10,000. It looks like a diamond necklace. Dawood Ibrahim feels that this necklace is probably of 2 crore rupees. And he has purchased at what rate? 10,000 rupees. He gave me 10,000, took that necklace. Why a 2 crore rupees necklace will be sold at 10,000 rupees? Because Dawood has showed me a gun. Alright, he just came to my shop, showed me a gun, gave me an offer, will you sell this necklace at the rate of rupees 10,000? I was having no option but to tell yes, so I accepted the offer. There was a contract. I need to give necklace. Dawood Ibrahim needs to give me 10,000 rupees. He gave me 10,000 rupees. He took the necklace, thinking it is a diamond necklace. It was actually imitation jewelry. It was not a real diamond. Now, Dawood becomes very good. He goes into court of law for taking this 10,000 rupees back. This necklace was say of 5 rupees or 10 rupees or 50 rupees. So Dawood Ibrahim now wants legally, illegally he can again show me a gun and take 10,000, more than 10,000 from me. The question is, can Dawood Ibrahim go into court of law? Believe me, the answer is no. Can I go into court of law for any case? Say this necklace was of 10 lakhs rupees. Can I go into court of law, say to court that Dawood has taken this necklace by force? The consent was not free. I can come into court of law. Dawood Ibrahim cannot come into court of law. I am coming into court of law to cancel this contract. Give my necklace back. Tell Dawood Ibrahim to take his 10,000 rupees back. Can I go into court of law? Yes. Can Dawood Ibrahim go into court of law? No. If one party can go into court of law, another party cannot go into court of law, this type of contract will become a voidable contract. And try to understand how it satisfies the definition. Committing any act which is forbidden by law, that is Indian Penal Code. Now you don't have to read full Indian Penal Code and understand that which are forbidden. Forbidden is restricted. Forbidden is not permitted by law. Now you don't have to read full IPC, right? You know which all are things which are forbidden by Indian Penal Code because you have seen n numbers of it. Doing murder, showing gun, doing kidnapping. This all are the things which are forbidden by Indian Penal Code. So you don't have to learn it separately. It is forbidden by Indian Penal Code. There was an act which is forbidden by Indian Penal Code, and that caused me to enter into agreement. This act of showing a gun caused me for entering into contract. This act was forbidden by law. I am entering into contract because of this act. Then this agreement cannot become a valid agreement. Why? Because this agreement is under coercion. So, consent is not free. If consent is not free, it cannot become a valid contract. If it cannot become a valid contract, in this case, it will be void agreement. No. Then it will be a voidable contract. And as one student explained, voidable contract is a contract whereby one party can go into court, but another party cannot go into court. And so you are getting it? This contract is a perfect example of voidable contract. First time we are learning voidable contract in our classroom, because in other all cases it was becoming void agreement. This is nothing but voidable contract. Why it is termed as voidable contract? Because one party can go into court of law, another party cannot go into court of law. This is voidable contract. Because it was in the coercion, consent not free, not a valid contract, it is becoming a voidable contract. Now, will it make difference if Dawood has actually not showed me a gun, but Dawood has threatened me to kill? Dawood came to my shop, he just told I will kill you without showing a gun. He has not showed a gun, not killed me. Then also there will be no difference. This will still remain a voidable contract. So even threatening to do some act which is forbidden by law, threatening to kill, the answer will remain same. This type of contract will become a voidable contract. This is nothing but coercion. What is unlawful detaining? कब्जा कर लेना, डिटेनिंग इज कब्जा कर लेना. Unlawful detaining or threatening to detain, even if it is not actually done and just a threatening is done, then also it will become a voidable contract. But because of this act, concentrate, the person is induced to enter into contract. Why I entered into this contract? By my will or because of this act? Because of this act, then this will become a voidable contract. Again, doubt cannot go into court of law. I can go into court of law. We are going to second part, which is undue influence. What is undue influence? Try to will be understanding, but try to understand first. If the consent is caused by undue influence, it is not free. If the consent is not free, it will not be a valid contract. If it will not become a valid contract, then what? Then it will again become voidable. So this is our second example of voidable contract. If the contract is caused by undue influence. Normally I take this example in undue influence and you will be exactly getting an idea of undue influence. Try to concentrate. One of the student said Dishita. And there is a Samir bookstore. Samir bookstore is having say 10 books of mercantile law which in quality are very bad. There are drafting mistakes, there are n numbers of mistakes and not very helpful for examination. It is for Law CA Foundation. Samir bookstore is having 10 books. I am faculty of law for Dishita. Here comes third person, who is Jason. Alright? I tell to Dishita in this classroom that the law book of so and so person, which is available at Samir bookstall, is extremely good. It is very helpful in examination. Why I am saying it, I'll tell you. But it is extremely helpful in examination. Dishita, you should purchase it. I am not saying you compulsory purchase it, but I am influencing her that you should purchase it. So I have influenced her to purchase book. Dishita entered into contract with Samir bookstore. She paid rupees 1000 for the book. Samir bookstall gave him law book. And please understand, this is a contract. Huh? This portion is contract. The act between Dishita and Jaisar is not a contract. Purchase of book is a contract. Now the question comes, where I was knowing that this book is not very nice, will not be helpful in examination. Why I told this to Dishita? Try to concentrate. Because Samir bookstall owner was my friend and he is going to give me rupees 200 per book sold. See, Samir bookstall was there. He knows that he is having 10 books of 1000, which is 10,000 rupees are now gone. So I go to him or he comes to me and say that, sir, ye book bikwa do. We will pay you 200 rupees per book. For this, I influenced Dishita. Dishita entered into this contract. And so, this type of agreement will come under undue influence. Now try to concentrate. I have influenced Dishita? Yes. Was it a genuine influence? Try to concentrate. If the book is very good, if I feel that the book is very good, if I feel that it will be helpful in examination, I can influence Dishita. But in this case, I am influencing Dishita because of this 200 rupees. So this influence will be termed as undue, not in a good faith. This influence was done. And so there was an undue influence on Dishita. So Dishita entered into this type of contract. And so this is a perfect example falling under undue influence. Consent will not be free. It will not become a valid contract. It will become voidable contract. The question comes then, sir, which party can go into court of law? Dishita can enforce the contract into court. And Samir Bookstall, sir, Jai sir is not in the picture as far as contract is concerned. This is an agreement between these two persons. So Samir Bookstall cannot go into. Sir, Samir Bookstall has not influenced Dishita. That is absolutely a different thing. Anyone doing undue influence to Dishita, then the contract becomes voidable. One party cannot go into court of law, another party can go into court of law. But concentrate, to prove this, there are some conditions which are to be satisfied. Number one, there should be fiduciary relationship between two. That is this two. See, what is fiduciary relationship? Student and teacher, lawyer and client, doctor and patient, father and daughter or father and son. This all are fiduciary relationship. What does it mean? One person is in dominant position, another person is not in dominant position, right? See, I am a faculty of law. I can influence Ishita. But say, purchasing a bike, or someone else is purchasing a bike, and he is an automobile engineer, and I am influencing him. I cannot influence him because we both are not having fiduciary relationship. Chartered accountant and his client are having fiduciary relationship. So if I influence my client to enter into some contract, because I am getting some benefit, this type of contract which is happening will become a voidable contract. Fiduciary relationship between two, Jai sir and Dishita. Can brother sister have a fiduciary relationship? Answer is no, but still it depends. Say the age difference is 10 years. Probably we can prove in court of law that there are fiduciary relationship. But say if the gap is 2 years, it cannot be proved that there is a fiduciary relationship between brother and sister. Number two, the influence should be undue. Person influencing should be having undue benefit. Believe me, if I can prove in court of law, but I'll have to prove that I have not received a single rupee from Samir Bookstall. If I can prove this, this contract will not become a voidable contract. Say judge will call me and he will ask me that you have influence. I say yes, I have influence, but I have not got any indirect benefit, or the influence was genuine. Even if it was my mistake, it was genuine. I have never told out of getting something. I was not having any undue influence. Then this contract will not become a voidable contract. It will remain a valid contract. Let me see other. The object should be taken undue advantage, burden of proof. All right. So we have understood it properly. There should be fiduciary relationship. Influence should be undue. And number 3 is the person who is influencing should be getting some undue benefit. If these conditions are satisfied, this contract between Dishita and Jaisar, no, there is no contract between Dishita and Jaisar. The contract between Samir Bookstall and Dishita will be undue influence. Under undue influence, the consent is not free, cannot become a valid contract. It will become a voidable contract.